Our final lecture explores how quantum theory has paved the way for innovation in nanotechnology and biomedicine, particularly through quantum dots, whose site-tunable properties are revolutionizing imaging, diagnostics, and targeted therapy. Delivering this session is Professor Lakshman Dissanayake, a leading researcher in condensed matter physics. Professor Lakshman Dissanayake got his PhD in experimental solid-state physics from Indiana University, Bloomington. He is currently a research professor at the Condensed Matter Physics Division, National Institute of Fundamental Studies. Professor Dissanayake was awarded the Emeritus Professorship by University of Pennsylvania. He was the director of the Postgraduate Institute of Science at the University of Pennsylvania. He has won many awards through the years as a great teacher and a scientist. He won the Committee of Vice Chancellors and Directors Award for the Most Outstanding Researcher, Physical Sciences, Senior Research category, awarded by His Excellency the President of Sri Lanka. Professor Dissanayake was awarded the Sri Lanka National Award, Vidyanidhi, by Her Excellency the President of Sri Lanka in recognition of the scientific achievements and contribution to the nation's development in areas of science, scientific research, and science education. So please join me in welcoming Professor Lakshman Dissanayake.
Everybody, so already at lunchtime. I'm trying to get you out of the entanglement. So this presentation will be mostly technical. Yes. Quantum mechanics during the quarter century, at the beginning of the first century. Within 25 years, quantum mechanics has revolutionized, changed the world. Not only the theoretical side, but also the experimental, technological breakthroughs, which affects each and every human being today. So let's see what are the things that are going to come in the near future. And I must thank Professor P.T. Tendulkar and Professor Cyril. Most of the first part of this presentation they have already covered. So I will try to go through the first half rather quickly. Okay, quantum mechanics started when physicists were finding it difficult to explain some of the observations which was happening during the turn of the last century. Because classical physics or classical mechanics, which we use to explain the planetary motion and motion of vehicles or whatever, the day-to-day activities, classical physics, classical mechanics could not explain these observations they were trying to understand. At the atomic scale, what are the things happening at the atomic scale, very small sizes. So I will go through quickly. This started with black body radiation, where this kind of radiation emitted from a hot body or a tungsten filament bulb or the sun or any star, if you plot the intensity versus wavelength, pretty much the same irrespective of the nature of the source. So this spectrum depends only on the temperature of the source. Whether it is the sun or tungsten bulb, same. So this is at that time I'm going to explain this with the available knowledge. So this is all black body radiation. Okay, these are two examples of black body. Sun temperatures nearly 6,000 Kelvin, and a tungsten filament bulb that we used to have in our houses sometime back, not now, is a hot body, nearly 3,000 Kelvins. And the spectrum of these two are pretty much the same. So, Max Planck, the famous physicist at that time, turn of the century, he tried to explain this black body radiation. And finally, for his explanation, he won the Nobel Prize in 1918. So he defined that black body is something which emits all the wavelengths, like the sun. It emits all the wavelengths. Also, a black body is also something which can absorb all the wavelengths. A completely black body, black umbrella, for example, approximately. And there are materials, carbon, silica, aerogel, which can absorb most of the wavelength in the spectrum. So black body is a perfect emitter as well as a perfect absorber of the radiation. So Maxwell tried to interpret this, proposing that the radiation consists of tiny packets of energy we call quanta, discrete packets of energy, quanta. Where, okay, so black body radiation was explained with the idea of quantized radiation. Then came Albert Einstein. He made the observation photoelectric effect to shine light on a metal sheet. Electrons are emitted in a vacuum, and he used Max Planck's ideas of quantized radiation, of quantized light, or photons, to explain this situation. Each photon falling on the metal emits an electron from their atoms. So each light photon emits an electron. We call it photoelectrons. So he was able to use this quantized idea of radiation from Maxwell to explain this photoelectric effect. Then, this Einstein, he did many stories. He didn't quite believe the quantum theory of Schrödinger, but he used this discrete nature of quanta to explain this photoelectric. Albert Einstein was the most popular scientist, most popular physicist in the world, according to many surveys that have been done recently. Then came Niels Bohr to come out with a model for the atom. And the simplest atom we have is the hydrogen. There is a nucleus with single proton and orbiting electron. So and we can observe the spectrum. So we will know what's happening, how these spectral lines originate. And Bohr proposed a model, we call it a planetary model, similar to the planets going around the sun. Electron goes around the proton. So that is the Bohr model of the atom. It could explain the spectral lines of the atom that we see in the laboratory. Yeah. Then there's another experiment, double slit experiment, which is very well described by the two previous speakers. If you have particles or light falling on a double slit, light photons will give a spectrum, and particles of light will give a similar spectrum. So you listen to the explanations given by the previous speakers. So light waves, we have to assume at times they behave like particles, at times like waves. And particles, so what de Broglie contributed was, he said particles which usually behaves as particles sometimes can behave as waves. Okay? So waves can behave as particles. De Broglie said, why not particles behave as waves? And he experimentally proved it. De Broglie hypothesis. Fast moving particles, electrons, can give reflection patterns similar to waves. We call it wave-particle duality. Okay. Light photons can generally behave as waves, but sometimes, based on the experiment we perform, can behave as particles. And particles generally behave as particles, can sometimes behave as waves, creating interference patterns. Then came Heisenberg principle, Werner Heisenberg. What he said was, if you try to measure the position of an electron, its velocity or momentum will be disturbed. If you try to measure the momentum of the electron, its position will be disturbed, and the size of the two disturbances multiply is of the order of Planck constant. Delta P, momentum uncertainty, delta X, position uncertainty. The product is of the order of constant H. So this is very useful principle, Heisenberg uncertainty principle. Yeah. Then came in 1926, Schrödinger, as per the telephone mentioned in his lecture, he developed a universal kind of general equation, wave equation we call it, which can be applied first to atoms like hydrogen atom, for example, simple atoms. Where the behavior of the electron is measured, you associate a wave function. Because also mentioned wave function for the electron, which has all the properties into the wave function. So if you take the wave function is generally a complex number. If you take the modulus of that psi square modulus, is the probability of finding the electron at a certain place. Okay, so I'm not going to go into deep details. This is the second order differential equation. Schrödinger equation is we taught in the universities, and you can apply to get an exact solution only for the hydrogen atom, as far as I know up to now. Hydrogen atom is the simplest atom we have, one proton, one electron. So we can use Schrödinger equation to solve the hydrogen atom problem and get the imaging levels of probabilities for the electron. Okay, yeah, this is the hydrogen atom, and by solving it, you can get exactly the imaging levels of the hydrogen atom, which correspond 100% with the observed spectrum. Okay. So these are details of studying the equations, mathematical, but it has solved a lot of problems that academic level do now. Right. Yeah. Okay. So development of quantum mechanics, quantum physics for the first century. Then came in Feynman. He came up with the idea. Yeah, Feynman, professor of physics at Caltech, in one of his main lectures in 1959 at the American Physical Society. Okay, summary was there's still plenty of room at the bottom. There is plenty of space at the bottom. That was the title of his talk at the American Physical Society. What did he mean was still there's so many things that we could have uncovered yet. Why not explore the nano world? Okay, nanoscience, nanometer scale world. We could have not explored. Not well. Atomics, okay, and spectra, electrons, and microns, okay, bacteria, whatever, micron level, but not in between, not in the world. So as a result of this, the whole area of research expanded. Actually, at that time, for the nearly for the 20 years of this description, more than 50% of the American PhDs were on nanotechnology related thesis problems. So one of the byproduct of nanotechnology was the quantum dots. Yeah, I'm going to focus a little more today. What are quantum dots? These are generally semiconductors at nano scale. We call it semiconductor nano crystals. Nano scale semiconductors. Yeah. So this is Lakshman, famous drummer also. And he contributed a lot to the development of quantum electrodynamics, for which he got the Nobel Prize also. What are quantum dots? Now we know semiconductors like cadmium sulfide, cadmium selenide, cadmium telluride, various semiconductors that we use in physics for solar cells or whatever. So if you have the cadmium selenide, for example, nano size, and behavior is completely different. The nano crystal of cadmium selenide, cadmium sulfide, will have energy levels very similar to an atom, discrete energy levels. So sometimes they are called artificial atoms. So then how does these energy levels originate? That we call the quantum confinement effect. It's like an electron sitting in a infinite well. So you can solve the quantum mechanical equations. So the important message is semiconductor quantum dots have size-dependent energy levels. So it depends. If it's a 2 nanometer cadmium selenide, we have one particular value. 10 nanometer cadmium sulfide have different energy bandwidths. And if you increase the nanometer size, finally you come to the bulk semiconductor energy bandwidth. Right. So we have opened up the way. It all agrees with the Schrodinger equation. Delta E is proportional to 1 over r square. R means the radius of the quantum dot. Right? So larger the particle, smaller the energy. Right? Larger the r, larger the size, smaller the energy bandwidth. And the energy band gap is related to delta each HC over lambda. Energy band gap is related to lambda, wavelength of the light that you observe. So larger the radius, larger the wavelength of the this quantum dots. So when the size decreases, the wavelength also decreases, right? And yeah, wavelength decreases going towards the blue end of the spectrum. If the size increases, the wavelength also increases going to the red end of the spectrum. Right. So this is generally description. So quantum dots have discrete quantized energy levels similar to atoms. And then there is a size interval. So we can tune the color. The difference between the energy levels depends on the size. So we can tune the emitted wavelength simply by tuning the size. By changing the size, we can change the light emitted from this quantum dots. This, for example, cadmium selenide. Cadmium selenide is a semiconductor, one example. It has a bulk energy band gap that we all know, physics. When it comes to the nano size levels, you can see cadmium selenide, 3 nanometer emits blue color, 4 nanometer green color, 5 nanometer yellow or orange color, 6 red, like that. So size dependent emission of light is a unique property of quantum dots. Same thing. So different wavelengths we can get simply by tuning the size. So there's an n image. You can measure the size of the particles and correlate it with the wavelength that we observe. Then quantum dot size and color. So we're changing from 2 nanometers to up to 6 nanometers, different colors from the same semiconductor material. Right. So this property, people are exploring whether this property can be used for medical diagnosis, biomedical identification as simple. Because what is emitted is called fluorescence spectrum, but we are excited, it emits fluorescence spectrum with different colors. So QDs, the quantum dots, can be used to label cells, biological cells, proteins, DNA, where if you get excited, get the emitted spectrum from the color, this can be used as a medical diagnosis technique. It can be used to study tumors, especially where the tumors or cancer cells are in your body. Not only to identify tumors and cancer, but also to treat. These same quantum dots can be used as for targeted drug delivery. Now, at present, we use radioactivity, which damage even the healthy tissues in a patient's body. Whereas this technique, still being developed, can identify this of the body where the cancer cells are situated and release the drug at that particular around that area. So targeted drug delivery is another property where quantum dots can be used. So identification from the emitted spectrum, target delivery, both can be achieved. Because due to their unique optical and electronic properties, which are sliced in another. So people have already done experiments with mice. It is for identification, you have to attach certain identification molecules to the quantum dot. For target delivery, similar, we call it functionalizing the Q dot. You functionalize with whatever you want, sensing material or drug delivery material, and you inject into the body. So you find a way to find the cancer cells, another step, and deliver the medicine. So experiments done with these mice images for the last 10 years or so. These things are being developed. You inject the functionalized Q dot and excite it with some radiation, ultraviolet or thermal, and the output radiation tells you where the cancer is. This is one of the challenges faced by the present medical diagnosis, especially in the case of cancer. So QDs can be functionalized with targeting ligands or biomolecules to specifically deliver the drugs to the diseased cells. This approach can enhance the drug efficiency, reduce the side effects, because it doesn't damage the tissues around, and enable the real-time tracking of drug. So this QDs select them properly and selectively delivered to the desired location by attaching whatever the functionalized video. So QDs can be functionalized with biomolecules like albumin, dorsal. You can play with these things because the main function is can be used to locate the tumor and deliver the drugs. Drug insect release. Drugs can be encapsulated within the QD structure itself and control release. So this is the main message. As a result of quantum mechanics, spreading the situation, delta is equivalent to 1 over R square. From that simple result, you can see how this science is evolving, benefiting the medical diagnosis and treatment. So it's a well-developed area and rather successful with mice experiments, still not applied to humans because there are still issues to be sorted out. Also, the semiconductor cadmium selenide or sulfide, they're toxic to human beings, so actually you have to have a ore shell structure. Or yes, maybe shell, another material, probably thin silica shell or something. So before trying to on human bodies, patients, these things have to be sorted out. So these semiconductors are the ones which works with testing with mouse, etc. Cancer treatment, infection treatment, wound healing. So different areas right. So what is wrong or are the limitations of the percentage technique? People use dyes to the body and try to find these dyes have all kinds of other side effects, and this targeting cannot be done using dyes. So these are option quantum dots are evolving as a possible. Okay, this is a quantum dot core cell structure. There are different ligands again attached. They can be sensing molecules or treatment drug or whatever can be attached These are the coordination bonds can be attached. Yeah, this is a very hot area today in nanomedicine. We call highly cited papers, very hot topic. Right. So because of the semiconductor that we are familiar with cadmium sulfide, cadmium selenide, etc., are toxic to the human body. Now there's a lot of work on non-toxic products made from graphene or carbon. So graphene-based quantum dots can be used similarly. You excite and observe the optical fluorescence. Also, they can be used for delivery of targeted delivery of drugs. Okay, so semiconductor dots, very well established area. Because of these medical issues, health issues, now people are trying also graphene quantum dots, carbon quantum dots. These are example of carbon quantum dots injected into a mouse having cancer cells, and you can see the exciting and the output light gives you the other cancerous growth is in the body. So, as I said, it's a very hot area of research for nanomedicine, probably. Drug discovery today, one journal, in the 2023 paper, bio-inspired therapeutic quantum dots, paving the road to a new paradigm for cancer management. So, any of the young members of the audience who would like to pursue this direction? Okay, different colors from Q dots. Thank you.